So you're probably wondering, how does a 52-year-old woman who has taught Spanish for 25 years end up moving to a foreign country? And it's a long story. It's a process, to be sure. And when I was 7 years old, I was sure that I was going to be a teacher, but I was also very sure I was going to be a missionary. So from the beginning, I've had both of these as passions, as desires of what I wanted to be. And in college, I had to choose a major, and so I chose to go math education, and I put Spanish as my minor. So I went on my first short-term mission trip, and I say short-term lightly there because it was 8 weeks in Mexico. And I kept waiting for God to just hit me with a bolt of lightning, or somehow let me know that, oh yes, this is what you're going to do with your life. You're going into missions. And that never happened. I didn't have a bolt of lightning. Had a great experience, and I do remember God giving me the verse back then of Jeremiah 29:11. And so I knew that He had plans for my future, to give me a hope, and that He had good plans. And so I just knew that I was going to have to take it one day at a time and see where He led me. I came back from that mission trip, and I changed my major to Spanish education, and I put math as my minor, and went on to become a teacher, and got married right after I graduated from college. I don't know why I thought that I had to have a call to missions, because really we have the Great Commission. I mean, Matthew 28:19, it's clear for everybody that we're supposed to be going out and making disciples and teaching them, and so that's what I want to do. And fast forward to now, 25, 30 years later, and it's been my whole life and ministry to teach and to take students on short-term mission trips. But I had children to raise, and in 2011 my marriage was falling apart. So I felt like life as I knew it at that point was just over, and you feel like I'm too old to start over, and if my family is broken, and what does He have for me? And so I just felt like I was over here broken and put on a shelf and not good for anything really anymore. And that was when, it's so ironic that that was exactly the first year that I went on a short-term mission trip with students, the same year that we separated. And I think it was just God showing me that Jeremiah 29:11 was still true, and that He still had good plans for me, and that He still had plan for my life and what He wanted to use me for. And so for the past 7 years, I've continued teaching, and I've kept going on short-term mission trips with the students and with adults and with children. It's just a really sweet spot when you can do the two things that you love, to teach, and then I love the missions aspect. And what I really love is seeing the change in the students when they go on these short-term mission trips. I also was able to minister in my church through the divorce care ministry. That's been also just such a joy in my life, to watch people go from where I was, feeling broken and useless, and then finding out that God just loves us, and He wants to heal us. He wants to give us a purpose. I just started feeling, I don't know how to explain it, it was uncomfortable, kind of restless, and just this feeling like that change was coming. And I know God was trying to prepare me for something, a big change, and I didn't know what it was yet. So I just was going about my life and doing the things that I normally do, teaching and taking a short-term mission trip. We did go for the first time down to Bolivia. Here I was due for one of the biggest increases in pay we'd ever had here at Liberty Christian Academy, and I had just finished my master's degree. I was, so that would increase my pay. And then I come back from the Bolivia trip.
You say, welcome home, my child, well done. So I step to the edge and I take a deep breath. I'm not turning back around, 'cause there's no turning back now. I'm going all in.
now I know that this is where God wants me. And I just wanted to make sure it wasn't an emotional decision. So I waited and I sat on it and I prayed about it. And, I just kept seeking the Lord. And, I thought if it's an emotional decision, then it'll fade. And, I'll just be over it. And it didn't. Not at all. I mean, God just, it's like he puts his thumb on you and then he just doesn't let up. And I just knew that I still was going to be going down there. And I'm willing to go. And if he can use me, single mom, then he can use anybody. And, Romans 12:7 says to use your gifts, whatever God's given you, just use them. And so he's gifted me with teaching and with encouraging, and those are the things that I want to use down in Bolivia. I want to teach English, and I want to encourage others to come to know Christ. And so this is my goal. It's a lofty ideal, but when your ideal is driven by what God wants, then he's going to make it happen. So sometimes I'm insecure, or I feel like, am I ready? Am I actually capable of this? Is the money going to come in? And I get scared. But then I remember that if this is what God wants me to do, then he's going to make a way. When I get to Bolivia, I know I'll be teaching English in the small school that's on the Word of Life campus. And that's all the missionaries' children, and none of them speak English, so they all want to learn English, and that's going to help them in life and to achieve their goals. And maybe even they can come to the States and go to a Christian college one day. And at night, I'll be able to teach English to adults, so that'll be more of a ministry outreach with adults. I may even get to go into the public schools and teach English, because they're very open. They want to learn English, and they know that you're going to talk about God, and they are very open to hearing about that. So I can use that even in going into the public schools down there. Some verses that he gave me even on this trip were Ephesians 3:19 and 20. And it explains how the most important thing in life is to help other people find the love of God. And if God can use me in any way to do that, then that's exactly where I want to be and what I want to be doing.